Hello you, how we doing folks? It's Sunday night and it's Father's Day, and we hope you fathers out there have had some pleasurable delights on this fine Sunday in 2018. It's Audio Who and it's Pete Davison, it's Sarah Sutton, it's the mouth on the house herself, Janet Fielding, and it's an historical outing in the late 1800s for the Fifth Doctor, Nyssa and Tegan, in Manchester at the height of the Industrial Revolution in...
The Peterloo Massacre.
Thank you very much, Will. I need to stop drinking. The Peterloo Massacre. As we already tell you, we have Manchester. We have the poor trying to uprise against the suppress of the rich. We have an interesting concept in the case that there is no alien in this story, with the exception of the Doctor and Nyssa themselves. There's no TARDIS action in this story, except at the beginning and at the end. And we have a case where we have an historical event where things must unfold as they have done so, and the Doctor and co are slap bang in the middle of it. So what do we think about that? Well, you're a bit to find out, but before we get to that, let's get to this. It's your panel for this evening. Joining us, it's Sue. How are we doing, Sue?
Really good, thanks.
Good to see you. All the way from Corpus, he has a beard, but Texas Tim Wells. How are we doing, man?
No.
No, okay, that's good to know. He has the thunder. It's Monday morning. It's from down under. Hey, how goes it, man?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good to see you, mate. Jake, from the inner sanctum of your bedroom, how goes it, mate?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you, mate. And from NYC, Mr. Ron Medina. Well, what's happening?
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Yep. So, guys, the Peterloo Massacre. I keep getting that fucking name wrong. We have the regiment, army, the militia of Manchester. We have the suppressed workers of the mills and the time of the Industrial Revolution kicking into full swing. And a lot of this stuff resulted in a lot of folk heading on to that land down under, down in Fraggle Rock. So, what did they think? Timbo, opening first, mate. Pete Davison, Janet Fielding, and Sarah Sutton.
I thought it was good. It was interesting because I've never really heard of this event, but I mean, it's an actual historical event that they, and in the way the Fifth Doctor always does, he just gets caught up in events and really doesn't have any control over the situation. So I think he was the best suited Doctor to the story for sure. It was just a little bit too preachy sometimes with all about the you know, how badly people were treated in those days. But I mean, that was the point of the exercise anyway. So I mean, I could see why if you were like a 12-year-old and you were listening to this, you know, you'd actually learn something about how terrible things were back in the past or whatever. One thing I did like though was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. Sorry, background feed there.
This is written by Paul Mars, who usually does comedies. As you know, he does the Baker's End thing. But he kept subverting your expectations. For example, at the end, you obviously think the guy's going to kill his father because he's such a bastard, but he doesn't. You also are led to believe that this young guy was the father of the poor baby that got killed,
which he wasn't,
and he's not. Yeah. So I mean, in other words, it didn't end the way you thought it was going to, which I thought was kind of clever too. I also thought too that the main event, the big murder of all those people was actually in episode 3, so you still had a whole episode to wind down from that. Yeah. I thought that was a clever idea as well. So it was very good, very well made story.
Okay, cheers, mate. I'd probably agree with you with the whole preacher thing, especially when it came to Tegan. She was really pissed off in this a lot, but yeah, there you go. AJ, opening first, mate.
Yeah, I love pure historicals. I mean, we don't get enough of them. I mean, the best monsters in the world are humans as far as we know. I just love the whole idea of this story because it's, as you said, an event in history that we don't know too much about, or not many people know about. It was in the early 1800s, which was a really rough time to be alive from what we could hear in the audio. So it's a bit of a learning experience for people who listen to it too. The Doctor getting injured in this too, which was kind of rare, you know, falling over and hurting himself. As we get more into it, you know, you find that, you know, people quickly change roles in this story too. So, you know, good people become bad and they go back again and so on and so forth.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of flip-flop when it comes to the characterisation of some of the characters, which in a piece like this, in a particular historical event where no everybody necessarily knows about it, it is basically a character-driven piece with your surrounding character as well as your three leads. Well, open the thoughts, mate. What do you reckon? Once you sit down.
Sorry about that. I was totally shocked that it was a real historical event, like Texas said, and I looked it up too, and I was shocked that not even though in this story Peter was killed, that there was more than one child that was killed in a historical event, and a couple of women too. I was like, wow, this is very unusual, and like you said, this stood out real well because the Fifth Doctor didn't do nothing. All his main job really was to make sure his companions wasn't hurt in themselves, and you got to give this one a really it really hits you in the stomach, man. Especially what happened with Peter like that, and like you said earlier, I thought maybe William was his father, was the child's father like that. So and it wasn't, and then it was unusual. It's never revealed who is the child's father at all. So that was like, wow, because right in the end, when William's speaking to his father, he turns around and they're gone. The Doctor and the companions are left already. They're going home, and that's really what's unusual. It would have been real interesting if this would have been an actual episode, because it would. I know some of the visuals would not have been shown on TV. It's the stuff that we listen to, but it would have been a gut puncher right there, because especially finding out that a child was killed like that, it was very messed up. And then and the thing about the rich disrespecting and treating the poor as worse than slavery like that was very bad. And then the thing is, it actually did happen. And even in this day and age, they still you do hear and see in the news how much the classes treat people who are not as rich as them. So this is one of the best Fifth Doctor audio I heard in a very long time.
Oh, high praise indeed. That's mate. Jake, how was this one for you? How are you with historicals?
I was a bit concerned going into this story because, one, it was a Fifth Doctor story, and two, it was a pure historical. And for the most part, the two first parts for me really dragged to the point I was getting a little bit bored of it. Then blam, they hit you right in the jugular with that baby getting killed. And I was taken aback by it because it was like draggy, boring history stuff, and boom, massacre for about 20 minutes. And you're like, it's like unexpected for me to listen to in an audio, if that makes sense. But I like how it picked up the themes of rich and poor. Nyssa was great in this. She was ready to slap a bitch by the end of it, and I really liked that. I adored when Peter Davison got angry with Hurley, because as Tim said, Peter Davison's Fifth Doctor is a perfect Doctor to have in this scenario because he's so peaceful and like pacifist. I think he's the pacifist Doctor out of all of them the most. But if it wasn't for the last two parts, I don't think I would have enjoyed this story. I think the last two parts saved it for me. It was rather enjoyable near the end.
Up to a crescendo for you, you know. Sue, on the thoughts?
Man, it was an incredibly interesting story. The Peterloo Massacre I'd never heard of. It had so much drama, and there was so much like tension between the parties. I thought that was really intriguing and brought off really well. And Tegan was perfect in her anger and her righteous indignation, and Nyssa was so compassionate. You could see where her character was going, and I just really love that compassion of hers. And she came from royalty, and they were asking her questions about where she was from, and she basically didn't say anyway. That was cool. So yeah, and the Fifth Doctor, I agree with Jake. He's sort of the pacifist Doctor, and this is a really hardcore thing for him to be dead center of. Anyway.
All right, fair dudes. Yeah, interesting. as the guys have alluded to, you don't very often get a pure, full-blown historical these days, and this is an interesting concept for Paul Mars to tackle. Tim alluded to, he's normally a comedy writer, but I think he done, was it The Lady of Marseille, like 4 or 5 years prior to this as well. So he's got a back catalogue when it comes to trying historical, when it comes to Big Finish. Pete Davison probably is the best Doctor to stick into this type of scenario. You're probably right there, guys. What I did like was the contrast between Nyssa and Tegan, how Tegan's just basically, well, Tegan, she's just foaming at the mouth like a dog with a pork chop around its neck, and want to call out everybody and sundry for the way people are getting treated at the time. But as Tim alluded to, that can get a wee bit heavy at time for the narrative of the story, but it didn't detract from it. It's kind of apt in this time frame.
Righteous.
Well, if you like that as well, yeah. The contrast between the rich and the poor. You have industrialists v capitalists, and you've got Captain Hurley. What was that family? What was Will's family name?
The family name?
Yeah.
Hurley's.
Hurley's, yeah. You've got him in the running of his mill, where you've got unsafe working environments and conditions. You had that kid who was nearly crushed underneath the wheel, and yeah, it really gave you a broader aspect of what the hell went down back in that time period towards the end of the Battle of Waterloo and
Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah, Napoleonic Wars, and prior to folks going on the boat down to Fraggle Rock, down where AJ is. So interesting stuff, and probably a good tale for Pete Davison's Doctor. Right, guys, any events or characters that stood out for you? I've got one or two when I get to my bit, but AJ, anything stand out, mate?
Yeah, Tegan calling the Doctor a posho. I mean, come on. She's seen the Doctor go, save lots of different people of different classes. I mean, that's kind of ignorant on her part, I thought, a little.
I would say it was mere frustration that he wouldn't do anything with regards to the elitism within the tale because he couldn't, But hey ho. Anyone else, mate?
The dialogue during the factory scene was really badly drowned out by the sound effects, I thought. Of the cotton mill. I know it was supposed to give the effect that they were inside of a cotton mill and all that, but
yeah,
that sort of was really hard to hear a lot of.
Okay. That's 3 weeks in a row. The sound engineers are getting lambasted off AJ. Get it sorted, Nick Briggs. Yeah. Timbo, let's stand it for you, mate.
Well, if I could just point out, I think one of the reasons they don't often do these complete historical stories is because you have to find an event and get the Doctor and his companions in and out of the story without affecting anything, without changing anything, and that's pretty much, if they did that all the time, it'd be kind of boring. So I mean, they have to find an event, something like this that's not well known about unless you're a history major or something, which involved a lot of people in one place. So, I mean, I think they did a really good job of that. Also, they did a really good job. I think this is in the writing, I guess, of ratcheting up the tension. Because at first, I was like Jake at first. I was like, where's this going? Because it seemed like all set up for the first episode. But then little by little, they ratcheted up the tension. And so where you get to the end of part 2, and the Doctor realizes what exactly is going on, and he has no way to fix it because he just wants to get his girls and get the hell out of there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a very clever way to tell the story, I thought. That and the music is awesome. I'm glad that they don't try to emulate that 80s sound. They do sometimes. Yeah, like the Castrovalva sound. They sometimes do that, but I'm glad they went with more like a film score approach, and it really benefits the story. Yeah,
fair point. What the hell's the matter with this sound? Hang on. Yeah, fair point. The score is pretty good. I must agree with that, Timbo. And, it's cause and effect. Get in there, grab your mates and get the hell out of Dodge and let events unfold as they should. Jake, can I stand it for you, mate?
I like how in the last part the Doctor was slightly trying to alter things by getting that news reporter to to tell everyone how it actually happened, instead of him manipulating it. I think it's the first example that I've heard or seen where a Doctor's tried to do something like that and he failed. But I'm going to agree with everyone else on the cast that it's so emotive. There's such good emotion in the last 2 parts that make him seem more realistic. Nyssa was great in the story. The Doctor was Tegan did sort of irritate me in some bits, but her character sometimes does with the way she approaches things. And obviously the maid lady whose son died, I thought she was great, and until obviously she had a affair. I felt so much empathy before her. And that's what I like in these sort of stories, emotive stuff that makes you feel bad for the characters. I felt bad for most of the people in the story, except from Hurley. I kind of wish his son would have stabbed him, to be honest. I think he deserved it, so that's what I'll say about that.
An eye, for Jake. Eh? There you go. Why not? Well, go for it, mate. Anything stand out?
Well, what stand out is the ladies in this audio.
Which was?
Because, like, Tegan, because of her mom, she got arrested. But if it wasn't her being arrested, she wouldn't have had the keys to get the horses later on for her and the Dr. Nyssa to go back to the house to try to prevent that. So that right there. And of course, the maid, Cathy. Cathy was played by Haley Jane Standing.
Okay.
And her and Nyssa was so cool, nice together and communicated each other that she was explaining to Nyssa how her being poor like that, her being mistreated. Of course, Nyssa being smart, she figured out that Peter is her son, not her brother.
Yep.
So and then it was unusual how Nyssa reacted, holding to the baby. Like, of course, later on we find out that she does get married, have kids like that. She like that. She feels like maybe it's time for her to have kids. She don't say it like that, but the way she holds him and the way she plays with him, she felt comfortable with him, and that really stood out right there. You got to give these ladies credit because they did a great work there. Now, because people didn't like, I didn't like. Well, you got to give it the writing though. William, he tried to pretend to be a captain, and then in a way that got Tegan in trouble and arrested because she was just waiting for him. But she got arrested because they thought she was a spy like that.
Who played William?
Who played William? Gerald Kearns.
Okay.
And so that really stood out right there because like we all thought in when we were in the beginning, we thought he was the baby's father, and that was
Well, Nyssa thought, to be fair.
Well, I thought so too because even when the doctor said no, they're not it, like I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? I mean, it's what I took because if you broke it down, say she was mostly working in the house and she was in her house. So I was like, well, it has to be either William or maybe maybe the old man, but I'm not gonna say nothing about that. But it was unusual. But and the one who played Mistress Hurley, it was unusual because she also did the voice of the sister,
the nun.
Well, the nun, yeah. So that was unusual. That did that.
Who was that?
That was Liz Morgan.
I've just got to pose a comment. And Mrs. Hurley at points was really getting on my wicked presence in the story, man. She was like one of the old Ushies for Mary Poppins, the old. She was just a blowhard for me.
Well, like you said, that was the way it wasn't in those times. Mm-hmm. And because even though she was saying, well, my husband created this factory like that, and he started about money, but once she started having money herself, she didn't treat nobody as equal. She was
new money. Like
yeah, she was there.
Yeah.
And there was even that crack about her not being quite a lady yet. In other words, her husband would have to be knighted before she would be a lady or something.
Yeah. So that you gotta give credit, even though this is a Fifth Doctor story. This one gave equal time to the ladies, the companions, and the other characters. I give props for that.
Yeah, see what happens when you get rid of Adric? Everybody gets equal footing. Just saying. Sue, how's it stand up for you, man?
Well, I'm going to agree with Will, and the women in the story were amazing. They had their brilliant connectivity with the people around them. More than just like outer space aliens coming to rule over. Their actions were that they were trying to really help, and it was pretty intense, the stuff that they had to help them through.
Okay.
I mean, and the devastation in the middle, that section of the actual massacre, holy schmoly, that was really incredibly well done. And heartbreaking too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. For me, I'll just say I agree with Who mentioned the fact that they were a wee bit aghast that the actual massacre was in part 3? Then you start. Oh, it was Tim. Then you started another episode to go.
Yeah.
You know, that. I'm like, oh shit, what are they going to go with episode 4? And they're going to bring the nuns in, and they're going to demonstrate that even when people go to the nunnery to get medical, it's sorted out with money. They're all run by the upper class as well, and you kind of keep bringing everybody here because nobody pays, and even they're at the beck and call of those with the green. So yeah, so much religion being for the righteous, eh? Captain Hurley, who played him?
Captain Hurley was played. Give me a second. The dad was played by Robbie Stevens.
Robbie Stevens done a great job here because he had to play not only a complete bastard, not only a father, and not only somebody who was more worried about the products of his mill. He also had to play somebody who was trying to show a wee bit of remorse towards the end. But for a lot of the listeners, he was already too far gone and probably still should have tasted some steel. But I think he pulled it off no badly. I do find it interesting though that at the end of the story, everybody just buggers off and the guy practically gets away with murder because he had a militia uniform on. But again, that's just a byproduct of the time that we're talking about here. And Cathy and her father are left in the nunnery to lick her wounds and go on to fight the good fight. And with that, guys, open mic portion of the cast. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we get this rated? And you can.
I think it's interesting that this episode or this story would fit in that narrow period between Arc of Infinity and I guess the Turlo trilogy, the one that introduced him. Because but Mars says in the extras that this is one of his favorite periods of the show. He was like 13 or 12.
Brandon Morbius? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it was just interesting that the Doctor is with just the two girls and not neither Turlo or Adric. I think that helped the story quite a bit because, as has been pointed out, there's the women carry the story in a way, the women characters, and it ends up helping the story, I believe.
Okay, cool.
It was unusual that in the beginning of the story that the Doctor sprains his ankle. He must have learned that from a couple of his companions previously. And the next time the fifth Doctor goes to Manchester, it's in the novel Golf Opera. That stood out too. All right. And I don't understand why Tegan keeps saying rabbits for some reason. That bugged me out. Like, why keep saying that?
Remember she said it on TV a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's an Australian slang. I don't know. I guess AJ would know.
AJ?
He's perplexed.
No?
Nope, I have no idea.
All right, well, somebody get Janet Fielding and figure what the hell that means. What else, guys?
I like how in this story, basically, it's history that we didn't know really about, but it's history that keeps repeating itself throughout the years, even up to today in modern days. You know, over here in Australia right now, like they're cutting minimum wage, and the Prime Minister has given himself a pay rise.
Of course, that's politicians for you. They're all assholes no matter who they are, you know.
You see what I mean? Like history completely repeating itself all the time, and yet no one does anything about it. And also the priest in the story, he was a bit of a douche. He didn't care whether anyone could hear him reading the riot act or not. He just read it as if everyone was hearing, and then he just followed along.
Never mind douches like that. To quote our good buddy Tom Ellis, it's all about the little boys for those folks. So we'll leave it at that.
Well, you got to remember, nobody's going to hear him. He's inside a building, reading it out the window, so that's why he's being slick about that.
Yeah.
So nobody was able to hear him.
I think you made a good point, Graham, about the father, because he, like you said, he's not 100% villain. He's trying to reconcile with what happened. And I think this is a perfect example of how history just pushes people into an event, and there's no real villain. It's just those with and those without kind of power.
Also stood out how the Doctor said that Percy Shelley writes a poem about this, but when I looked it up, that poem didn't get printed to 10 years after he died.
Still wrote it. May not been published.
Yeah.
Still wrote
No, it was published 10 years after his death.
Yeah. So.
Which is unusual.
If there's nothing else, guys, conscientious at the time on this thing, it's that time again.
Even though we said in the beginning, we wish every guy a happy Father's Day and enjoy your rest of your day.
Yes, happy Father's Day to one and all, and to dear old Dad, thank you Netflix and fuck you Fox. Right, The Peterloo Massacre. Pete Davison, Janet Field and Sarah Sutton. Sue, what do you give this out of 10?
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Pretty devastating, pretty realistic.
Thank you, dearie. Jake, what say you?
I will give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Good man. AJ, what's the number from Down Under?
9.5 out of 10. It was a really good story, and I could have seen this on TV.
Admirable point. Timbo, what's the number down Technical Way, mate?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 9. It was a good story.
Alrighty, good stuff. And NYC, what's the number, Will?
I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's a good story, a gut punch right there. Like AJ said, could have been a TV episode.
Excellent. And for myself, I will give it an 8.5 out of 10. Great little historical, and the females steal it. So yeah, excellent. What a year for women. And with that, we're done, dusted, and finito, folks. It just leaves us to tell you what we're doing next week. It's the turn of Colin Baker. AJ will be on hiatus. Maybe Philip will be back if he's in a good mood. It's Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant, along with Siobhan Redmond's Rani and Will.
The Ronnie Elite.
The Rani Elite. We'll sit down, we'll give that a bash, and we'll see how we tackle it. Please check out our buddy on the wonderful world of the YouTube. You've got the guys and dolls that gets assembled with the TV, movie, and audio head reviews. You've got Dr. Freedom, his news broadcasts, and his Omega files, as well as the adventures of Dr. Freedom and Eric. Go and give them a listen. You've got Johnny Boyle, Sammy Carter, Mike Shannon, wherever they are online. Like, share, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down. We're getting the hell on out of here. It's Sunday night. It's time for beer. And I'm off to ups. All the best, guys. Be excellent to yourself and each other. And
Be seeing you.
we'll see you next week. Adios.